everything that your brother just said as of now, when it comes to his outlook on him being a better father for you possibly in the future, what do you take from that?
I mean, I think it's a good thing. Like, yeah, me and my dad have definitely been like growing closer and just having a bond for sure. Um, I think even I think even as time goes on, like it it will just constantly grow. Because I mean, we have a lot more things in common than I realized at a younger age. And so I think for me it'll come easier because I in some ways kind of like took after my dad without like realizing what kind of path that I was on. And so
Right.
I think moving forward, I think the biggest thing for me would be to get my siblings, my brothers to kind of see the same thing and just try to like have them put in the effort to find something in common and just go from there.
Let's talk about either the good or the evil. A government
Mm.
entity, child support.
But let me tell you a fucking story here.
Oh, child support. So I think child support is interesting and related to this.
This guy was making in excess of $140,000 a year. The economy goes for shit. Oil and gas goes through the toilet. Buddy loses his job. Company shuts down. Does what he's got to do. Takes a job at $60,000. Well, that shit ain't good enough for the rig pig that he hooked up with. 2 kids. She buggers off. Goes to court. I want child support. Your Honor, last year he made $140,000. That is what his child support is based on. He can't afford that. Nobody can. Because he went from $140,000 to $60,000.
Now, brother Komar, me and you talked off the record, on the record, through the record, between the record, on all these ups and downs when it comes to the system.
He's got some decisions to make. Make his truck payment, his insurance payment, his house payment, whatever other payments he's got to make. First one he stops is his insurance payment. Driving with no insurance. Risk it. The second thing, he loses his place to live. Now the guy's living in his truck. Now he's behind on his truck payments. All his toys are gone. His woman's gone. She's got the kids. And he's got this financial obligation that he can't pay. Child maintenance now seizes his driver's license. Now he can't drive. Can't work because he can't drive. Can't drive because he's got no insurance. And he's got no license. Then he loses his truck. Now, I kept in contact with this guy because he was a really decent guy. A couple of weeks after I lost contact with him, I found out he killed himself because he couldn't survive. He couldn't survive financially. He couldn't survive mentally. Now, the economy, yep, shit happens. But he went and got a job, making less money. He could have gone to court and got his child support reduced. He couldn't afford to go. He's dead. Gone. Now, you want to know how child support can ruin a man's life? Think about that story.
Do you think that this also plays a part when it comes to fatherhood on the system? And I ask that because a lot of different men, me and you from Texas, I'm from Wisconsin, we have our opinions and our reasonings on the goods and the bad when it comes to court. So for you in your life, based off what you said and based off what you live, do you think that this affects fatherhoodism? We coining that fatherhoodism when it comes to being a good or a bad father.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Because I believe that, um, as we say, like you make a certain amount of money to sustain yourself per se, and in this type of economy, depending on how much you make, a mother gets, let's say 20% per child, 18% 16% as you keep going.
Mm-hmm.
And they have no factor of when they can go back and take whatever. As long as you keep growing, they're growing. And I don't believe this is child support. I honestly believe this is mother support because we all know this is not going to the mother. And as you're as you're trying to
You
support
meant to say,
yourself,
not to cut you off, you meant to say it's not going to the child, correct?
it's not going to the child. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
I
yeah.
just
It's
wanted
not
to
going
catch
to
you
the
before
child.
you go too
It's
far,
going
but I
to
got you.
yeah, my bad. It's
It's
not
all
going to the
good.
child. It's we know it's going to the mother. So every time that you up yourself as a to get better, they up their self to get better. And you you can do everything financially to make yourself better. But if you go to the court, you can spend all your money to go to the court and say, "Hey, let me get my child. I can provide for my child better than she can." All she has to do is say, "I'm trying," and you'll never get your child. And the system isn't there to work for you, it's there to work against you. And I'm
Mm.
sorry to say that for any person who's trying to fight for their child, it might work. I mean, you got to spend a lot of money, in which I've went through that system to try to um and you might get your child, and you get your child and more success to you. But the hate comes from you trying to successfully get your child and try to say that, hey, I'm doing the best that I can. And even with that, a lot of men give up, and a lot of women, I'm going to say that too, give up when you're constantly fighting to say, I'm doing the best that I can. Even when I'm on record saying that I go to the visitations, they're just not enough. I only get to see my child 2 days a week, every other weekend. Can I get more? And it just won't happen. And even sometimes when you're want to see them more, and they find a way to say he's not doing enough, he's not doing this, and they fight the system and fight against the system still fight against you. And some people get tired, and it's not a good thing to go with the system or get against the system, and you get tired. So it drives men crazy, it drives women crazy, and you give up. And that pushes people apart and pushes men to say, I'm done. And that's not fair on the child, because sometimes those men will say, well, you know what? I did want to love you. I did want to be the father that I wanted to be. But then again, your mother pushed me away. And not to bash women again, but the government has drove me broke. Your mother has driven me broke, and I'm giving up because I just can't do enough. And it's driving my mental, because I'm going to play it on a mental and my physical health, to say, hey, son or daughter, I just can't do it anymore. I'm just going to focus on me, so that maybe later on I can focus on you, because I won't be here any longer if I have to go through this. And that's my take on it.
Mm. That's really heartfelt right there. And I'm glad you put emphasis on we're not attacking women. We just get some things clear. So I have to double down behind that. When we talk about
Agreed.
child support, just based on the conversation, I know it seems as of now one-sided, but let's keep in mind something. For one, we know it's deadbeat dudes out here.
Yes.
We're not knocking that. Nobody's knocking that. They're deadbeat men. There are fathers who don't want to be fathers. So for them who have to go on child support for no other way, ladies, we understand. This topic of discussion is for the fathers who want to be fathers.
Fathers. Right. And let us say this, because there is a podcast out there this full of women who did podcasts about motherhood and child support. And the attack was not attack, but their take on it was about men, and how men are deadbeats. So it wasn't an attack on all men, but the deadbeat men. So we're just doing the opposite.
Just so we got that clarity. Brother D, from everything you heard from your father, giving his opinion about child support and the things you go to court, just hearing that, is anything that your father said when it comes to emotion, you could be like, man, I didn't know that, or I didn't know that it could be so strange. I know I'm about to do a lot of editing.
Strenuous.
Yes, there we go. Strenuous on the brother
Mhm.
when it comes to being a father. What's your take on what your father was saying in that regard?
I mean, as I got older, I kind of like understood it more, especially seeing it be a lot more common with my generation. And so I definitely agree with what my dad said, and I feel like there's no like fair way for a father to really like win in that situation unless it's just really bad for the child. I think that's really the only way that it goes the father's way, and especially with a trying father, because I've seen like there be times where the father has been trying for so long, and eventually they just stop trying and they just move on with their life, and just when the child reaches 18, they just let it be that and don't really try to be in that child's life because of how those years beforehand have gone. And so it's kind of just like I myself have thought about like what other ways could there be where child support isn't so like anti father. Maybe there'd be like a way where the money goes directly to the kid for necessities for the kid instead of it just being money per se. Maybe like how they do like I guess EBT cards, maybe like a child support card or something that allows you to only buy like the essentials for the kid. Um, so it's kind of just like I didn't understand that it was so much at a young age because I didn't know any better, of course. But as I got older, I kind of understood it more, and I didn't really like hold that against my dad because I know like just I feel like the system itself isn't always, and most of the time isn't always on our side. Not even just fathers, but like black fathers especially.
That's a fact. That is a fact. Just to clear some things for people who are watching about child support. Child support is in place for the child's best interest. So when you're talking
Mhm.
about lights, water, food, regardless if she was buying it before a child, that is considered child support. The big problem when it comes to child support is realizing that you are getting income, you have income, and the kid still goes without. I think that every man has that the biggest problem with that. We know a lot of times child support, not in all cases, let me say that again, not in all
Mm-hmm.
cases, it's for women do wrong. We're not saying that. But for those who do get child support and does not uphold the child best interest when it comes to these payments, knowing they lacking and knowing that you could provide these things, I think that's where a lot of men have a problem with child support. Because honestly, I put myself on child support twice. So child support is not the problem that scares me. It's what are you going to do with the money? And then on top of that, which is the most scary part, as Brother Comar covered, was custody. I think custody, when it comes to a lot of men, that's where it comes really unfair. Now, money and wages, that's self-explanatory almost in every 50 states.
Mhm.
20, 18, 16%, as Brother Comar said. But custody is a different topic. Just want to clear that up, though. Want to clear that up.